All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Max Barr, previewing Tuesday's matchup between the Texas A&M Aggies and the Auburn Tigers. The showdown in College Station. This game is going to tip off at 8 p.m. Central Time on ESPN. It is a very interesting Tuesday night slate in terms of the TV windows. But yes, this one will tip off 8 p.m. Central, prime time on ESPN. And Max, feels like two teams heading in different directions right now based on their performance. Auburn continues to do their thing, sitting at 27-2, 15-1 in the SEC. They're now the outright SEC champs with 2 games to go here, coming off the 16-point win at Kentucky, which may or may not have happened, depending on whether you actually saw it happen. If a tree falls in the forest, Max, and no one sees it, it actually happened. Well, it happened for Auburn because they broke the streak in Lexington and riding high here, heading into College Station, which is the exact opposite of Texas A&M. They've lost 4 in a row now, coming off a 19-point loss at Florida, and quite frankly, just not playing their best basketball of the season right now. The Aggies, Max, need to certainly win this one if they want to feel like they're going to maybe stay in that top 4 seed type range, because this was a team as early as maybe 2 weeks ago. We're talking about maybe second in line for jumping up to a number 1 seed, and now they're sitting here potentially falling back to a 5 or so.
Yes, you nailed it by saying two teams headed in different directions. Blake, these teams played last year one time, okay? Auburn played 35 games last year. Any clue on what single game was the lowest scoring total of the whole season?
Shocker.
Yep. 66-55 slugfest last year. Auburn's offense a bit better than last year. A&M's offense a bit worse than last year. This projection right now on KenPom has a 77-70 victory for Auburn. Would not be shocked, Blake, if we don't see even the 70s. I would expect Auburn to get there, but would not be shocked at all if we see some scores in the 60s here.
Well, I'll tell you what else I would not be shocked at. If we see some free throws in this game, because I think we're certainly looking at a situation here where, remember, the one thing we kind of bring up, Auburn is now 314th nationally, Max, in fouls per game. That's a lot of fouls. And we know with A&M, like we say, I always mention the formula is for free throws, right? Being able to shoot a lot of free throws, that's always been something that sort of stood out with them, and especially in College Station. Like, everyone brings up the game time and length and all this other stuff, but the Aggies will get there. And I think, to me, like, that is certainly where you start if you're talking about how this game could play out, just based on the idea that, okay, you would feel like it's going to be tough for A&M to percentage-wise convert offensively from 2, from 3 against this Auburn team, just because, well, if you look at the numbers, A&M is last in the SEC in 2-point percentage. They're last in the SEC in free throw percentage. They're 14th in 3-point percentage, 15th in effective field goal percentage. So you look at Auburn defensively, and we talked about they're the best 3-point defense in the conference, second in effective field goal percentage defense, third just in defensive efficiency. They're also 4th in turnovers, which A&M does that a bit too. So it's like, to me, it seems pretty obvious that if A&M's going to win this game, they have got to get Auburn in foul trouble, get to the line probably 30 or more times. And the thing is, they could do that.
Yeah, they could. And they probably will. I mean, let's be honest. That they will probably get to the line more than Auburn here. I would just go into the game expecting that. However, A&M's continued to do that, right? That's been the formula, and they haven't really gone away from the formula, but they're still on a 4-game losing streak. And it's not like they've just forgotten how to get to the line, forgotten how to offensive rebound. Yeah. The blueprint is kind of out. They're going to let you shoot threes the way the defensive rotations work with the system. They're going to give you those skip passes and try to pick them off. If you don't pick them off, you're going to have a guy like Tyler Nickel, Chaz Lanier, Will Richard, whoever it may be, that if they're hot, they're going to get those looks. Auburn's got 4 different guards shooting 40%. I am so worried from an Aggie standpoint on one of those guards having a 5, 6, 7 3-pointer night, just given the way that Texas A&M's defense is set up, how they sell out for blocks, the rotations. those skip passes cross court are there. Auburn knows that. The Burgo, the system, the offensive scheme. Auburn's going to get 3-point looks here, Blake, and they usually knock them down.
You may have said this earlier, but it's a Monday morning, and our minds are kind of all over the place sometimes. But what do you think the spreads are going to be for this game?
So the KenPom projection is 77-70 victory for Auburn. So that would imply like a -6.5.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you get some sharp money, a little cheeky home underdog. Maybe it goes down to like 5.5 or something like that, but somewhere around there.
Interesting. I think this is one of those where, like, listen, this is why Vegas knows best, I guess. But I'm like, I don't know how you properly come up with a number here, because it is like, it's one of those things where it just seems like there's so much in Auburn's favor. But you are going on the road to play a team that, like we said a couple weeks ago, is knocking on the door of a number 1 seed, potentially definite 2 seed, and now they're on this slide. But there's something else to keep in mind too, and I'm trying to draw the parallels here. Although every season is different. We remember, though, right, that A&M lost 5 in a row last year towards the end of the regular season. And what happened? They went on a 5-game winning streak after that to get to the SEC tournament semis, where they lost by 5 to Florida. And we talked about that they're an overtime loss to Houston away from the Sweet 16. And so they turned it on after their, I guess just that they had to have that losing streak to sort of kick things into gear. Well, now they've lost 4 in a row. And you're playing the number 1 team. And if you're trying to figure out, okay, is this going to be the same thing that repeats itself this year with A&M, where they just hit one of these bad stretches, but then maybe this is the game that turns it all around, right? And this is where all of a sudden they win this one, they beat LSU, they're in the SEC semifinals or the championship game, they go out, Sweet 16, like, I mean, it's what we're talking about. This overall body of work for A&M tells you that they should at least have a chance to rise to the occasion here. Now, I know, something different we're not used to with them. They've lost back-to-back home games, right? They lost a game to Tennessee by 8, lost a game to Vanderbilt by 2. Usually a team that's pretty tough at home. And that's where I think, to me, and I'm gonna repeat it again, like it is Texas A&M's ability on the offensive glass, I think, is something where you feel like they're gonna miss shots here because the way Auburn defends, but it's those second chance opportunities, and it's getting those and converting into easy layups and or free throw attempts. Like, I think the game is that simple here. Like, I just don't really see a whole lot else that's going to impact the outcome of this game. Like, it's if Auburn can prevent at least that to a certain degree, like you said, I don't think you're going to completely shut down Texas A&M in those categories, but if you can just do some of it to the point to where they're not shooting 35 plus free throws here, I mean, I don't know how you're picking against Auburn in this scenario.
I think one angle to look at is, how does Auburn defend Farrell Payne? Because if you look at the Texas A&M offense, they have kind of funneled their half-court offense into Payne now. Past 2 games, before the past 2 games, Farrell Payne had only reached at least 10 two-pointers, at least double-digit 2-point attempts. He only did it 1 time the whole year. He was really not a high-volume offensive guy. The past 2 games, he went 9 of 13 from 2, 6 of 15 from 2. Back-to-back season highs in volume for Payne. They are really starting to lean on him in the half court. How does that matchup look early? First few times it gets ducked down to Payne. Is he scoring that bucket over Broom / Cardwell, whoever it is? Or does Payne kind of get stonewalled and now it's like, oh boy, we're not going to be able to rely on that dump down offense that we have been? Look for that matchup on the interior. How does Auburn defend Payne? Because that's who A&M has really been leaning on in their half court past 2 games now.
We talk about, too, Auburn just relishing the opportunities on the road. Like, the numbers sort of tell the story on that, too. If you look at the past couple, or more than that, they shot 57% from 2 against Kentucky, 46% from 3. At Alabama, they shot 51% from 2, 40% from 3. At Vanderbilt, 62% from 2, 38% from 3. At Ole Miss, they shot 47% from 2, 50% from 3. At LSU is worth 44% and 32%, so it takes a little bit of a step back there. But look at the games they played recently on the road, and that's what we keep saying. It's not like they're just playing anybody, right? They're going on the road, playing a game at Vanderbilt where we've seen how hard it is for teams to win there. Go on the road, beat Alabama. Go on the road, beat Kentucky, 2 high-octane offensive teams, and now you go on the road to play a Texas A&M team that is the complete opposite of that offensively and has, I think, much fewer paths to victory here just based on their offensive capabilities. Now, the difference is, perhaps, with all those teams, A&M's a much better defensive team. And so can Texas A&M force Auburn to take contested shots, I think, on the perimeter? That's probably one thing. Do you make them settle for tough shots away from the rim? Let's make our picks because I think this is a weird game.
It is a weird game. And if there's one thing you can do to right the wrongs of a 4-game losing streak and just make that 4 games just completely get washed away, it's beating the Auburn Tigers this year. 2 years ago, Texas A&M had 2 huge home wins against Tennessee and Alabama. Last year, they had the 1 huge home win against Tennessee. This year, A&M has not gotten that huge home win. They have not knocked off that big-time, highly ranked team at home yet. It feels like they're due. It feels like that desperation spot. But, Blake, Auburn is just so good right now, and Texas A&M goes through droughts even at home. I fear for the Aggies. They go through an offensive drought. Maybe they battle. Maybe it's close. But Auburn offensively, the way they can score just anywhere, I trust that so much more than I do the Aggie offense. I'm going with Auburn here as my pick. But like you said, just got a weird feeling about this one.
I think you said something there that is true. I think A&M is absolutely due for one of these big games like this at home. And I think the matchup from what they do best, and that is getting to the line and forcing you to be physical with them. And then you go to see how's the game called. I think that plays in A&M's favor here because we mentioned the Auburn, fouling numbers. Not that A&M is just, I think they're in the 200s or something in fouls per game. But, that is something where it's like if there is a team you feel like that can exploit that with Auburn potentially, it's Texas A&M, especially at home. And so I think they're due, and they might very well prove that. But if you're talking about making a pick for a game, and I'm not buying into the theory that Auburn is just going to be sitting here like, we've already locked up the SEC title. We've already locked up a number 1 overall seed. We're just going to go out and, Bruce Pearl's going to be playing the 14th man off I'm not buying it. So I think Auburn's coming out with still feeling like they want to keep proving to the world that they are the best team in the country. And I'm going to pick them to win this game because even if A&M does it, how could I pick it to happen when they've lost 4 in a row? And meanwhile, Auburn is just continuing to be just an absolute machine. So, I'm picking Auburn in this one as well. But before we hop out, let's tell you about our friends at BRACKETBIDS. It's March, folks. It's time. You can enter into that free pick'em contest. It's March, Max.
Let's
March,
go.
March, Max. Enter into the free pick'em contest or start an auction draft league with your friends, family, or coworkers. Everyone starts with the same bidding dollars. Up to you to outwit and outbid your league mates. Secure the teams you think will go the distance. Choose from multiple scoring models, including the upset bonuses, reward the bold picks. Track your teams with live in-game scoring. Watch the standings shift in real time. Further your team's advance, the higher you climb the standings. For league play, use that promo code SC16 for 40% off. SC16, 40% off. Download the BracketBids app today or visit them at bracketbids.com. We appreciate you guys watching. As always, we'll have reaction, of course, to these games, most likely, given the fact that this is a bit of a late slate on Tuesday night, reaction most likely on Wednesday morning. We'll have you covered here. Subscribe, hit the like button, turn on your notifications. We appreciate you watching, as always, and we'll talk to you soon at Southeastern 16.